DreAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves anyone out there, including yourself, of course yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together into one package, one philosophy, one brand, one book. Yes, there is a book. One mindset, one way of being. This masterclass here that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and today's topic is a question I'm going to ask of you, and then we're going to figure out how to answer it. The question is, who is a positive investment in your life? Now, I talked about investment many times here on this show. Most notably, most famously, is masterclass number 609, the 5 forms of investment and how to use each one. I just recently talked about in masterclass 1482, how to invest in your investments. And I share you Warren Buffett's 4 investment principles and how you can utilize them in your life in masterclass number 916. But I talked about investing a bunch of other times as well when it comes to this show, why you need to invest in yourself, all the way back in 2016, masterclass number 106. I told you about investing in your investments recently, how to reinvest in your business, masterclass 1403, investing in your communication skills, masterclass 1257. And I talked about levels of people, the 3 levels of individuals. And let me grab that one. That is masterclass number 1058, limiting your associations when it comes to the 3 levels of people, the 2-minute people, the 2-hour people, and the 2-day people. Because one of the key investments that you're ever going to make in your life is in the people that you choose to surround yourself with. Keyword, choose to surround yourself with. Again, masterclass number 1058 will help you out a lot with that. And understanding investments go both ways. What I mean by that is everything you do is an investment. Is either a good investment, which is going to make you better and pay off in your future, or it's a bad investment, which is going to make you worse and is going to cost you in the future. But there are no neutral investments. So we're going to ask 4 questions here today to help you assess your relationships and see who you need to keep around versus who needs to be eliminated. Point number 1, the topic once again is, who is a positive investment in your life? Point number 1, what have you learned from this individual? So if any person in your life and you're trying to decide, is this person a good investment or a bad investment, and you can't quite figure it out off the top of your head, here are the questions you're going to ask yourself. Number 1, what have you learned from this individual? Or since you're asking the question, what have I learned from this individual? How can associating with this person make me smarter? And these are not rhetorical questions for you. When you ask them of yourself, you have to challenge yourself to come up with answers. Hopefully it shouldn't be too much of a challenge. A person of substance is a person who is doing things, who is learning things, a person who is advancing, a person who is bringing things to the table that you can learn from. There's something that they're bringing to the table that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get yourself. I talked about being a person of substance in masterclass number 1286. What you can do is listen to that masterclass, check yourself first of all, and then ask yourself, who do I know that fits this description? Who else is a person of substance in my life? Is there anybody in my life who fits the description from masterclass number 1286? Go listen to it and make sure you can check yourself. Person of substance is always bringing things to the table that you can learn from. They may not be a person, understand, being a person of substance and person you can learn from doesn't mean that they have to be a person who is so forward in sharing what they know. They don't have to have a daily masterclass. They don't have to write books. They don't have to be blogging every day. They don't have to be a person who's putting it on, wearing it on their sleeve, that they have a lot to share with other people. Understand that being a person that you can learn from could be the type of person that when you ask them the right questions, you learn a whole lot. When you get them to talk, you're going to learn a whole lot. They may not be a person who's just so out there that is just sharing their stuff openly with everybody else, but they will if you ask the right questions. So you got to ask yourself, again, who can I learn from? Who have I learned from? If you can't learn anything from a person, what purpose are they serving in your life? If you are thinking of a particular person in your life right now, and you're asking yourself, what can I learn from this person? Or what have I learned from this person? And you can't really come up with anything. Then the next question you need to ask yourself is, okay, since I'm not learning anything from this person, what purpose is this individual serving in my life? And I want you to understand that just because you can't learn from a person does not necessarily mean you need to eliminate them from your life. Not necessarily, because there are some other things that a person could bring to the table besides what you can learn from them that could make you better. But usually, I would say usually, most of the time, a person who has some value in your life, there's something that you can learn from them. Something that they can offer, something they can share. Again, if you pay enough attention, ask the right questions, you can figure out what you can learn from that individual. But the first question is, what have I learned from this person? There needs to be something if you're going to keep a person in your life. Point number 2, today's topic is, who is a positive investment in your life? That's a question. Number 2, could you ever call on this person if you needed help? If you ever needed something that you were not able to procure or provide on your own, or be on your own, or do on your own, is this individual, the same person that you're thinking of, could I call on this person if I needed help? Loyalty and friends, I think everyone would agree, is important, right? Any of you who have a person that you would call a friend, there's probably something about them that if you needed something, you could call on them and they would deliver. Maybe you've already done it in the past. Maybe they've delivered for you sometime in the past. Maybe they've called on you and you delivered for them, so you expect the same thing from them. Again, maybe you've already seen this, but I think we would all agree that having someone that we can count on, that if we needed something, we know they would come through, or maybe they've already proven to do that, would be important for somebody that's going to be a friend, somebody that's going to be an association, and you're going to invest time with them. Since none of us as humans is all powerful and none of us can do everything well on our own, it would help to have some people in our circle whom we can call on if we ever need it. I mean, you would agree with that, right? So who are those people for you? Who are the people that if you needed something, you could call on? And think of everything in your life that you have going on right now. Just consider all the areas in which you might at some point have a need, where you might at some point have a deficit, where you might, if you get into a situation of crisis, which we talked about a few days ago, and you needed something, who could you call on to help you in that area? If you needed something, if you're an athlete and you need something in the athletic side of things, who's the person you would call on? If you run a business and you need something financially, who's someone you could call on if you needed it? If you needed to talk to someone about what's going on at home, but you don't want to talk to somebody at home, who's the person you would call and talk to about those things? What's something else that could happen? If something happened to your car and you needed a ride to work, who's the person you could call on who could give you a ride? If you need some information about a certain person in a certain sector of the world, who do you know that you could call on? Who do you know that if you needed a lawyer, you could call that person and they would be able to direct you to the right lawyer? Or maybe they are the lawyer. Who do you know that if you were about to make a business decision and you weren't quite sure how things go in this area of business, you could call on that person that either they know or they know someone who would know the answer, and you would trust that person implicitly simply because of the recommendation of who they came from. In every area of your life, think of every area of your life where you could possibly one day need help, and then ask yourself, who in my circle would it be the person I called on if I needed help in that particular area? And if you're finding that you're coming up with a whole lot of blanks, you're coming up with a whole lot of I don't knows, or I don't know anyone who knows anything about that area, and I'm not sure anyone I know even knows anything about anything going on in that area, then that means you have some gaps that you need to fill when it comes to your associations. You have some holes in your game, as we would say in the sports world. You don't want to keep those holes open for too long, because one day you may hit crisis in that area and you may need somebody. You may need somebody who knows an auto mechanic, or someone who knows a lawyer, or someone who understands contracts, or someone who can float you some money, or someone who knows something about playing basketball, or someone who knows a good personal coach, or someone who knows a good therapist, or someone who knows a fill in the blank. Whatever it is you may need, someone who knows something about being vegan, or someone who knows something about meditation. You may need to know someone who knows somebody in that area. You don't want to wait until you hit a crisis situation. Now you need someone and you don't know anybody. These are the type of things that you need to be doing on a consistent basis right now in your life, so that you start filling in these gaps before you get into a crisis situation, or hopefully so that you can avoid a crisis situation from even occurring if you can. Now, I talked about this from a different angle in masterclasses number 976 and 977. Those topics are the 8 types of people you need around you, part 1 and part 2. Again, that's 976 and 977, the 8 types of people that you need around you in life. So who are the people in your circle, if you do need something in whatever area, you will call on that person? And then the other way, if you ever need something in this area, who would I call? Or looking at your friends and asking them, what area would they be able to help in if I do need something? You got to have answers to these questions. Or look at your circle again. Look at these people. What can they help with? What can this person help with? What can she help with? What can he help with? Who in your circle can do things that you just can't do? Who's connected in a place where you're not connected? Come up with answers to these questions. Don't let them just be rhetorical to you. Point number 3. Today's topic is, who is a positive investment in your life? Point number 3, when has this individual, looking at each person in your circle, any person that you consider a friend, any person that you have around enough that their association is rubbing off on you, when has this person ever made your life better on their own volition, i.e. they did it without you asking for it? Letting that question sink in. Looking at the people in your circle, maybe it's a person sitting next to you right now while you're listening to me. When has this person ever made your life better just because they wanted to? They noticed something that could help you, and they went and took that action and did that thing on their own personal initiative. You didn't ask for it. You did not express a need for that thing, but they noticed it. They noticed something that could help you, and they went and did it for you just on their own. When has that ever happened? Looking at any relationship that you have, has that ever happened? And looking at yourself while we're on the topic, have you ever done it for them? When has anyone who's in your circle, when has this person contributed to you in your life, not because you asked them to, but because they wanted to? When you understand that this is what friends do. If you're considering somebody else a friend, this is what they do. They do things to help you out just because they're a friend. Not because they think they're going to get something in exchange, not because they're going to post it online and they can make themselves look like a superhero to everybody else. They're doing it because they're a friend, and friends do things for each other, not because they are keeping score. And I talked about this in a previous masterclass. I'll tell you what it is in a minute. They do it because that's just the type of person that they are, at least when it comes to you. That was masterclass number 1234. If you want to build relationships in life, you got to stop keeping score. Do not keep score in a relationship. If you're doing that, then it's not a relationship, it's a transaction. There's nothing wrong with transactions, but you don't want to be in a transactional situation with someone that you consider a friend. You don't want to have a transactional relationship. You want to have a real relationship. It's not just based on who can get what and what the score is. So looking at your circle, have any of your friends brought anything into your life just because they saw a need for it in your life, and or they wanted to do something for you and you did not ask for it at all? Have any of your friends ever done this? Have you ever done it for any of your friends? Have you ever thought about it? When's the last time you did it for anybody? When's the last time anybody did it for you? How many people do you have around you who have never done it for you, but you seem to be doing it for them all the time? Or vice versa, they're doing it for you, but you don't do it for them. These are things that you need to take stock of in your life. And again, it's not about keeping score, but again, if you're a friend, you do things for your friend to help them out, not because of what you think you're going to get on the back end, but because this person's a friend, you're invested in them. So you'll make an investment in helping them out, not because you're like, all right, I'm gonna get this back in 5 years. No, because you make an investment into that friendship, because if you ever do need something, you know you can get it from that person. You won't even have to ask for it. Because that's how relationships are built, not because you are keeping score. Again, I talked about that in masterclass number 1, 2, 3, 4. Relationships, stop keeping score. Your friends will do this for you. And if you don't have anyone around you doing this for you, then they're probably not your friend. Maybe they're your associate, maybe you're cool with them, maybe you like them, maybe you admire them, maybe they admire you, but they're not your friend if they're not doing this for you, again, without you saying anything. Point number 4, today's topic is this person, or how do you know that you are making positive investments in, how do you know someone's making a positive investment in your life? The question you're asking yourself is, who is a positive investment in my life? Point number 4, how has knowing this person made your life better, if at all? Now this question, it shouldn't take you too long to be able to answer this question with anybody that you call a friend, or anybody you're hanging with every day, or anybody who is always around. It shouldn't be hard for you to answer the question, how has knowing this individual made my life better? Where are sometimes this person made my life better? Where are sometimes this person invested in me? What are sometimes this person just did something for me that helped me out? I didn't ask them to do it. They just did it because we have a relationship. And how often have I done it for them? All right. In a positive friendship, you and that other person should be able to cite several times without anybody's help. All right. Just thinking of that relationship, you should be able to come up with those. How has knowing this person made my life better, if at all? The power of the circle, ladies and gentlemen, and when I say circle, I'm talking about you and your associates, is that everyone brings something to the circle that makes that circle better, and whatever they take away is less than what they put on. In other words, they're a net positive. Just think of a potluck dinner where everybody shows up with something. You want people in your circle who are bringing more food to the table than they are taking off the table via eating. If a person comes to your potluck dinner and they eat more food than they actually brought, that may not be such a good thing. And this could be metaphorical, because if you're hosting a potluck, you might be the one who makes more food than everybody. But you understand what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is whatever somebody is extracting from the group, they should be bringing even more to it. That way the group gets stronger based on their presence. If someone's taking more away from the table than they are bringing to the table, then that means the table got weaker when they came around. They are net negative. You don't want any net negatives in your life. If you notice that you have some, you need to get rid of them. You need to get rid of them ASAP. I talked about this. I told you masterclass is 976 and 977, where I talked about the types of people the 8 types of people that you want around you, parts 1 and 2. But right before that, masterclass number 975, guess what the topic was? The 4 types of people that you need to avoid. Who are the people that you want to get away from you? And one type of person I know you want to get away from you is the net negatives, the people who, when they come around, things get worse. Your associations should all be net positives in your life. If any of you is a basketball player, you understand that we use plus minus as one of the statistics in basketball. It's how you measure someone's impact on the court. When a certain player comes on the court, let's say LeBron James comes on the basketball court, we measure it, and LeBron James, let's say he plays 35 minutes in a game. Game's 48 minutes, LeBron played in 35 of those minutes. We look at the net score of the game in just the minutes that LeBron played. If he's a neutral, that means that his team, whatever team LeBron happens to be on, and the other team played themselves to a dead even. They both scored the same amount of points every minute that LeBron was on the floor. So he will be a neutral for that game. And then you have, let's say that LeBron's team is a plus 10. That means in the 35 minutes that LeBron played, his team outscored the other team by 10 points. And if he's a net negative, then his team got outscored by 10 points. Now, they have deeper analytics these days that account for other factors, such as who your teammates are and the quality of those teammates, that give you an even deeper rating when it comes to that plus minus. They call it real plus minus, which is a deeper analytic statistical thing that if I tried to explain it, it wouldn't make sense, because I couldn't understand it myself. I couldn't explain it to you, but you can go look it up and find out if you want. But the general understanding of plus minus generally usually painting a pretty accurate picture of the quality of a basketball player. Maybe not in one game, but over a long season, usually the picture that gets painted is often pretty accurate. This player, when they come on the court, every minute they're on the court, it could be 1,000 minutes they played in the season. When this player was on the court, the team did better. Or this player, when he was on the court, the team did worse. And what plus minus does is it factors out what statistics a particular player put up. Because any of you who's a basketball fan or basketball player, you have probably seen or played with a player who might have put up some really impressive stats. And if you just look at that player's statistics, you would say, oh man, this player is putting up these stats. They must be a very good player. But then when you look at that player's plus minus, especially the real plus minus, which factors in the quality of your teammates and the quality of the opponent and all these other things, and you see a player who has really impressive statistics, but their real plus minus doesn't make them look too good, maybe even a net negative, you're like, okay, maybe this player puts up good stats, but when they're on the court, their team gets worse. The team is better when they're not on the court than they are when they are on the court, even though this player is averaging 25 points a game. Something's not right. Something's not passing the smell test. And it's the same thing with you. You might have friends who look good on paper. The idea of them sounds good on paper, but then the real plus minus of that relationship, you and that person, just isn't shaken out properly. And again, you want to look at your associations and check who is a net negative for you. And then you want to check yourself as well while you're at it. Who are you a net positive or net negative for? If you are not a net positive, listen, you may notice that people are calling you less often. They're not responding to your texts as much. And if you notice some net negatives in your circle, you need to give them the exact same treatment. Again, you don't have to cut them off completely, but they become 2-minute individuals and not 2-hour individuals. All right, we talked about in that masterclass on limiting your associations, masterclass number 1058. Now, with all that being said, let's recap today's class, which is, who is a positive investment in your life? That's an open question. We talk about investment on the show all the time because every single thing you do is an investment. The time you invest in listening to me right now is an investment. Is it making you better or is it making you worse? I can't answer that. You answer it. So we're asking 4 questions here that you're going to answer to yourself to assess your relationship, to see who you need to keep around and who you need to get rid of. Number 1, what have I learned from this person? How has associating with this person made me smarter? A person of substance is learning and doing and bringing things to the table that you can learn from. They may not be so forward in sharing it. They don't have to come force it down your throat. But if you ask the right question, you will always learn from that individual. Doesn't mean this is the only way they can be beneficial though. Point number 2. Have you ever been able to call on this person when you're in a position of needing help? Loyalty in friends is very important. Since none of us is all powerful, none of us can do everything well by ourselves, it helps to have somebody in our circle who we can call on if we need it. So who are those people for you? And looking at your circle, who would you call on if you needed help in a particular area? Who in that circle can do things that you can't do? Who's connected in a place that you're not? And what about you for them? Point number 3, when has this person ever made my life better on their own volition, meaning they did something to help you out without you even asking for it? And how often are you doing that for your friends? Because if you consider somebody a friend, they should be doing that for you, and you should be doing it for them. Not because you're keeping score, but because that's what friends do for each other. Look at your circle and ask yourself, how often is anybody doing this? Point number 4, how has knowing this person made your life better, if at all? The power of the circle, ladies and gentlemen, is that everybody brings something to the table to make it better. And whatever they take off the table is less than what they put on the table. In other words, they are a net positive. How many net positives do you have in your circle? And how much of a net positive are you for anybody when you're in their circle? Because they should be assessing you the same way that you're assessing them. Work on your game. Dre all day.